With Pokemon Go's new World of Wonder season comes the return of the Tapus and raids, and while that may not seem like the most exciting news, the Tapus are arriving with a brand new signature move from the main series, so we're here today to break down Nature's Madness to see if these Tapus are worth raiding with this move. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome back everyone. So at the time this video is uploaded, we currently have Tapu Koko and raids, which will be followed by Tapu Lele later this month. After that, it's presumed that Tapu Bulu and Fini will be coming, and like the first two, we'll also have Nature's Madness available. Now as it currently stands, Tapu Fini is the only land spirit Pokemon that sees the most significant use in any area of the game. Tapu Koko and Lele have the stats to be solid raid attackers, however their moves aren't that great and hold them back. And while Tapu Bulu is considered a good grass-type attacker, it's also outclassed by several other Pokemon. So will they get any better with the addition of Nature's Madness? Well, let's find out. When it comes to raids, Nature's Madness costs 50 energy, does 90 damage, and has a cooldown of just over 2 seconds. Doesn't sound too impressive, right? Well, it's actually a lot better than you think. Moves like Power Whip and Dynamic Punch also share the same stats but have slower cooldowns. Yet these moves are still extremely effective in raids, so take either of these moves and speed them up a little bit, and you have a top tier attack with Nature's Madness. Now while this is going to help the land spirits a little bit, the unfortunate part is that none of the Tapus have access to any fairy fast moves, so while this move is going to be great for fairy attacking, none of these Pokemon have access to a full fairy moveset. Still though, Tapu Koko, Lele, and Bulu are still top counters against Guzzlord, who has a double weakness to fairy. Plus Tapu Koko can learn Fairy Wind and Lele can learn Charm, so if either of the Tapus got this move, they'd be up around Enamorus's power level as a raid attacker. So fingers crossed that we see some of those moves added to them in the future. But next up, let's move on to the PvP side of things. When it comes to battling, Nature's Madness is a 50 energy, 80 damage move, and has a guaranteed chance to debuff the opponent's defense by a stage. This makes Nature's Madness incredibly good for PvP, essentially becoming a clone of moves like Dark Pulse and Dig, but with the added defense debuff. In fact, one could even say it's so good, it's madness. Now how do the 4 Tapu perform in PvP with this move? Well, if you're going to use any of them in battle, you'll definitely want this move in their arsenal. For Tapu Koko, it's still going to be a pretty glassy Pokemon, but having Volt Switch puts in the work for generating energy. It definitely struggles against its fair share of the Master League meta, like Landorus, Mewtwo, and Solgaleo, but it's going to put in a good fight against others like Origin Palkia, Ho-Oh, Zacian, and more. So with this move, Tapu Koko is going to be usable in the Master League, though I still think it's going to be a rather niche pick instead of a solid staple. Next for Tapu Lele, it's going to be in a more unfortunate state for PvP, as its psychic typing and moves don't really do it any favors. Lele is basically just a worse version of Tapu Koko, only performing slightly better against ground types, but having less of an advantage against Pokemon like Giratina and Kyogre. Now if it does receive Charm in the future, Tapu Lele could have a more distinct role, but as it is, I'd unfortunately pass on it. Moving on to Tapu Bulu though, I think it has real potential in the Master League. It's not the bulkiest Pokemon we have access to, but Grass Fairy is a pretty useful typing in the league with lots of Dragon, Water, and Ground types running around. But with that said, I'm not sure if I'd call Tapu Bulu a top choice, but it seems like a really nice anti-meta pick against Origin Palkia, Groudon, other Fairy and Dragon types, and more. Plus even if your Tapu Bulu faints, you can often leave your opponent's defense debuffed, which can turn the match in your favor. Now this brings us to the final Island Guardian of the bunch, Tapu Fini. As I said previously, Tapu Fini saw the most use of the 4 in PvP, being most prominently used in the Ultra League. Over the years, we've learned that the Water Fairy type is one of the best in the game, so it's only natural it would do well there. Don't believe us? Just ask Azumarill. Now while Fini's win rates on the screen may not look promising, in practice this move is going to be a definite upgrade over Moonblast. While Moonblast provides a lot more power, Nature's Madness costs less energy and has more utility. And like I said with Bulu, even in a losing situation, you can still set your opponent back as you go into your next Pokemon. So when it comes to rating the 4 Tapus, which of these spirits should you prioritize? Well, of the 4, I'd say that Tapu Bulu and Fini are the best choices for PvP, while Tapu Koko and Lele are the best for raids. The last 2 aren't as significant since they don't have very fast moves, but I could see them getting an upgrade in a future move update. So if you need some fairy type attackers, it may be best to grab a few while they're around. But those are just going to be my thoughts on these Tapus, and now I want to hear from you guys. Are you excited for this new move, and will you be rating any of the Tapus this season? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing for more Pokemon breakdowns. Until next time though, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.